Good morning, everyone. It is Tuesday, November 30th, and this is Morning Market Movers, where we do live analysis for day trading, take a look at hot spots in the markets for today. I'm Todd Rich with Nadex. With me from Keep Trading Simple, Brian Caprice. Before Brian and I jump into it, I do need to share this quick disclaimer that trading involves risk and may not be appropriate for everyone, that any trading decisions you make are solely your responsibility and at your own risk. And this is an educational session. Please do not construe anything Brian or I say as a buy or sell recommendation. We are doing this for your education purposes. Now, we're having an interesting day. We're having an interesting day because, and let's just take a quick peek. I'm going to show you a couple of things, and then we'll get into it. One, I want to remind everyone to be sure to register for the boot camp we've got on Tuesday. This coming Tuesday, a week from today, we're going to be doing a boot camp on day trading. Brian's going to be speaking. I will be speaking. Mark Petrino from Benzinga will be speaking, as well as Tom Sosnoff, the founder and CEO of Tasty Trade. So going to be an interesting day then. Now, what are we seeing today in the markets? One, well, the news is uncertainty. Nobody likes uncertainty. People are still trying to figure out what Omicron variant of COVID means. The Moderna CEO said there could be material differences on the efficacy of the current vaccine shots, meaning we're not quite sure what these things are going to do and how they're going to be able to help with uh, reducing the spread of Omicron. Uh, we don't want no, we don't know what we don't know. We're waiting for more data, but as you can see, crude oil got completely obliterated on Friday. It tried to claw its way back yesterday. It's now below the lows it set on Friday. So we are definitely going to be taking a look at energy. The other thing that we're seeing over in the equities, and we're going to take a look at this too, is uh, you know the Dow is also getting crushed. Friday, it's below lows it set on Friday. It also tried to climb out, and then bam, it got hit again. The only index that's trying to carry its own is the NASDAQ. While NASDAQ certainly sold off, it climbed all the way out of the hole. It too has pulled back some, but it's still way above the lows that it set on Friday. NASDAQ seems to be the most favored equity index at the moment, but you take a look at the Dow and you take a look at the Russell, and they're getting crushed. So, Brian, I'm going to flip it over to you. We'll take a look at what's going on in terms of the news out there, as well as what's going on in energy and equities. And I do know that we do have Powell speaking at 10 a.m. this morning.
hmm
And I think we already know what he's teed up to say about supply chains, but I'll flip it
Yeah,
over to you.
yeah, he kind of gave us an idea a couple of hours ago. So right now, what we're seeing pretty much across the board is a lot of strength going into the yen, which not surprising, and then we're seeing kind of dollar destruction. And the dollar destruction actually started yesterday afternoon. It appears right around when President Biden said, we don't know yet. Let's not jump out, go crazy. Um, Markets did not like that very much. Interestingly enough, we mentioned the dollar Swiss yesterday. Again, dollar Swiss is down down 77. We talked about it yesterday, but again, this is actually more of a dollar story. Even though the Swiss data was not good, you're seeing actually a bit of a retracement from it now, but it wasn't really the best. The CAD GDP data came in better than expected. We mentioned it's supposed to be 1 or 0, and it came in at 0.1. We're seeing the dollar CAD up, and you can see that the red is really switching around. It's really starting to give us the CAD strength in that one finally. And again, a lot of this also is coinciding with oil. It's how does the dollar CAD how does it go down, right? How does it get strength? It's getting strength from its GDP number. It was getting blasted, and 35 is not very, very big, but it's all been basically an oil story. Number
Right.
of different headlines. Todd mentioned a couple of them, but Powell warns that Omicron could slow job growth, and yet, as I mentioned yesterday, extend supply snares, whatever you want to snarls. I guess it's snarls. I don't know how to say it. Um,
Either one.
Basically,
I think
supply
that
chain
will.
issues, right? Supply chain. But again, remember, you see this and you're like, oh my God, it's going to get worse. But at the same time, remember, all the big box stores, there's not many big box stores, but they already have all their inventory in for the holiday season. So it's kind of what's going to happen after the fact, I think, is going to be the problem, because right now they got everything in, they're going to get in. There's not a supply issue right now. It's going to be a supply issue in January is what we're going to
That
hear.
reminds me, there was one other bit of news because the stores have got the merchandise. The question is, are people going to spend it? And I did see this come across this morning that yesterday was Cyber Monday.
Mhm.
Sales for Cyber Monday were 10.7 billion.
Mhm.
It's actually 1.4% lower from last year. Now I
I,
know
I
Cyber
can say
Monday
that I did
hasn't
not
been a
spend anything yesterday.
yeah, I
I
didn't
did.
buy. Um,
I set my wallet
Actually, I
on
did buy
Friday.
something.
That's okay.
Um, I didn't buy anything on Black Friday, but I bought something on Cyber Monday.
Oh,
But it's the
I
first
bought on
time
Black Friday.
since they've had Cyber Monday that sales
Hmm?
declined from the previous year, which
Honestly, not
is interesting.
surprising. Yeah, not surprising. There wasn't as many like amazing deals, like 10% off, right? You think Black Friday, Cyber Monday, you're getting deals across the board. I
Yeah.
10% is not something that's going to move me. I spent enough on Friday with things that I was like, yeah, that's good. I need that. I need that. I need that. But 10% is not going to make me spend extra. It's just 10%. You can find a 10% coupon anywhere you want.
And
But
Chicago, that just means that you get your sales tax back.
yeah, right. Exactly right. But here's here's that Moderna comment. Moderna CEO reiterates beliefs current COVID vaccine won't be as effective against the Omicron variant. Now, if you guys understand anything about viruses, this is why there's no such thing as a COVID zero, because it's a virus, just like how there's no flu zero. Okay, if a virus is able to mutate in an environment where you have protection and it exists and it survives, it means it is more resistant to protection. This is kind of common sense in the biological world. So to make a statement like this, you see this headline and you're like, oh God, it's going to be so much worse. They're all like this, right? But it's not just, is it stronger or the vaccine is going to work less? There's other factors as well. So, I'm going to tell people, I'm not a medical professional, but just understand you're having some people, Morrison in Australia, saying don't get spooked yet. We don't actually know a whole lot yet. Regeneron says their cocktail works less as well, but the reality is it could be more contagious and more severe, but also have a shorter shelf life. So it's gone in like a week. And we may be talking about another variant next week. So the reality is we really don't know. And again, a lot of this is the uncertainty that we're not really sure about. But things talking about slower job growth. I've saw one article already that talks about the Fed maybe slowing or pushing back when they're going to raise interest rates a little bit. Again, kind of makes sense that the double kind of witching we talked about yesterday. So Al speaking at 10 today is probably going to bring it up, pretty sure. Consumer confidence is going to be an old number before Omicron got there. It's not going to matter. Yellen is all about let's make friends with China and it'll help reduce inflation. It's like, well, there's tariffs. There's a reason the tariffs were put in, and that situation has not gotten better. So that's not the solution, Janet. But Janet's going to talk today too. And then we have GDP tonight for Australia, which could be a really, really big release. It's supposed to be extremely negative. Obviously, Omicron is in Australia. We've heard comments out of it. So again, that could be a big one for tonight. But I would say this is the big story. And this is why everything's moving. This is the VIX. Remember yesterday we talked about how we wouldn't, you're not really trading the VIX, but it affects everything else in the market. And yesterday we expected it to drop, and it did. It went lower, 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 lower. And then all of a sudden
And we're
today,
gapping out.
we gapped all the way back up again. But, and I'm going to say but, it's kind of the same scenario that we saw yesterday, right? Whenever you have these huge gaps, and again, yesterday or Monday was kind of a little bit off again, but when you tend to have these gigantic jumps, it tends to retrace back a little bit, right? Big jump, retrace back. Really, really strong push, jump back again. Push down, popped up again. Again, there's kind of almost a level of equilibrium here. The reality is we don't know a whole lot more. Yesterday I said it's only going to take one Omicron headline to kind of pop us down, and the headline was it's no time to panic. But
And
seeing
then
everything this red already, I was going to say, I mean, there could actually be opportunity to buy today, because if we do get some, again, we're one day past Cyber Monday. Now we start seeing some of the totals, and yes, it was less, but what does that mean? We're not really sure what that means yet, in the grand scheme of things. So there could be some positive linings in this. And whenever you see this, again, huge pop in the VIX, it typically doesn't gap up and then continue to just run. I mean, it can, but it's not normal. If it starts to tickle back down again, all this deep red, remember, all the retail traders are going to see this huge red, huge red. I got to sell at the open. I got to sell at the open. Those tend to be great buying opportunities. Okay. Now, oil and natural gas, we got to definitely talk about. Oil down another 3%. We're at $67. I can guarantee on Thursday, OPEC is going to say, we are not increasing supply. I'm just going to say right now, there's no way. They are making money and efficient at the mid 70s to $80 mark. At 67, there is no way, right? They are going to tell Biden to pound sand if Omicron turns out to not be a big deal, because they're going to say, look how risky it is. Natural
Right.
gas also taking it on the chops, guys, pushing lower, heading down to that $4.46 target. Um, I would say I would probably be looking for a bottom here. I mean, oil really took most of it yesterday. If we look about the European session, there's the European session. That is not really that big of a mark. If you look at yesterday, the U.S. session, we had that spike, and then down to 1430 is right there. There's where most of it kind of came in, and then we kind of retraced back up. And then again, midnight till about 1 o'clock in the morning, and that really, really slim time is when everything dropped. Okay, so again, we've been stabilizing. We know we're in area buyers right now, and again, the U.S. likes when oil prices go higher, not lower. It's a big driver for our economy. So I would say again, it's really, really negative. But I mean, how negative do you think oil is going to be before we start hearing about things? So I would say just like that. Again, going into the session this negative, I think there could be some buying opportunities to get long today. And again, it's not like it's going to end up in the green, but if it pulls back up again from where we are right now, currently again hitting a level, even if it just comes up to I don't know, say $70, right? That's a $2.50 run to the top side. That's an absolutely amazing move. It's over a daily ATR worth of movement. Again, if you can capture $1.50 in oil a day, it still ends up red. It's still meeting the narrative, but all it's doing is you're taking advantage of the profit taking today.
And
So
some of those out of the money binary options start getting interesting.
mhm,
So you can definitely be taking a look at some of those.
mhm. So yeah,
Let's
so I think those are good. Which one?
yeah
Which one of the indices do you want to look at?
yeah let's start with the Dow. I think let's take a look at the Dow and the Russell, because those are the ones that are
Uh-huh.
taking it on the chops the most. And then let's finish with NASDAQ, because that's the one that seems to be hanging in there.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, so yesterday we talked about targets coming back down and tagging that 34,621. We did. We hit it. We ended up slicing through. Whoops. We ended up slicing through it a little bit and ended up kind of like stabilizing right on it. We bounced. We kind of based. We kind of came up again and we based, and now we're popping. And just as I mentioned, we had such negativity. It looks like it's hugely down, and you can see that it's really since about I don't know about 4 o'clock, 4:30.
It
We're actually
started to
starting to put
catch a
somewhat
little
more of
bit.
a rally in, right? An
Yeah.
impulse correction, impulse correction, impulse correction, impulse move up. And if you look to see the candle that we're dealing with, there's not really a ton of sellers over there. And again, if I've had to readjust this a few times because again, the 50 keeps moving as it gets lower, but that also just happens to coincide with a 50% retracement level inside of fibs. So we know we're in a racetrack higher. We know we got some basing sideways there. We know we don't have a lot of sellers and it's rallying. Could this be a target for us? And again, could it be the standard morning? Could we run up until Powell speaks and then 10:30, right when he talks? Could that be our reversal time for the day? Could be.
Right.
I mean, it's a very common reversal time no matter what anyway. And we have Powell yelling and consumer confidence all kicking at the same exact time. So, again, profit taking from a huge sell off as it rallies up. Again, there's a number of different ways you can play it today. But I would say, no matter what you do, I would say that the shorter duration contracts today are probably the way to go. If you had been taking this from, yesterday, we were sitting right here, right here. So we're not that far off. It's a lot of movement up and down, but we keep kind of getting that kind of level of equilibrium. Play it
Right.
in the small ones, not in the long ones. If you're in a knockout, you're in the same knockout where you just keep going from top to bottom, and you really haven't gone either direction. So
It's
kind of
whipsawing
like
a
silver.
bit. It's
Hmm.
whipsawing it with all the unknowns. I mean, there's a lot of unknowns, and so it is. It's whipsawing a bit, and nobody really wants to step in one way or the other with any real huge conviction on
Hmm.
whether to buy or to sell right now. So those short duration binary options become kind of compelling for day
Yeah,
trading.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. And again, in the grand scheme of things, gold is up a little bit, right? But it's still messing around with that 1800 mark. It's not able to break through it. It's very, very ugly
It's
candle.
doing nothing.
Silver is dead. Silver's is completely flat. We're stuck at 2287. And remember to bring Wall Street down. Another thing too that I will bring up, guys. And again, this is not like a plug. I'm not getting it for this, but one of the nice things, and a lot of different areas have this. It's interesting to watch the performance over the week, month. Again, this is week, month, 3 months, 6 months. Silver has been nothing but negative for the last year. It's down 4.66 in a year. Year to date, it's down 13. The last 6 months, 16%. Remember, this is what was going to take down Wall Street. And again, we're not even remotely close. Looking at gold is kind of mixed. The 1 week to 1 month, gold is starting to finally creep, but it's still down overall. But look at something like the VIX. How we mentioned again, the VIX is very again very telling about what's going to happen in the markets as well as like options pricing. It's nothing but green over the last year. In the last year, it's up 28%. Year to date, up 16%. 6 months, 46%. The last 3 months, 64%. Last 1 month, it's up 62%. And in the last week, even with Omicron, it's up 38%. So it's interesting that we're supposed to be kind of coming out of the back end of the pandemic, and we're kind of getting back to normal, but yet the volatility is getting higher and higher and higher and higher. And now with Omicron out there, again, even more reason to be looking at these shorter duration contracts. And like I said, following and kind of watching this VIX has really been a telltale sign for the indices. Because again, VIX green, market's red. VIX red, market's green. And again, where we are, again, especially once they start raising interest rates, because again, they're going to have to.
I did want to I did want to drop in that the NASDAQ chart. I mean, if you because this is the one that's, I mean, if you
Mhm.
take a look at the last week from its highs to its lows, we
Mhm.
drop in some fibs. We're actually getting close to that the 50% retracement from it within the last week. But it really, I mean, it it's the one that's been hanging in there, even from Friday's sell-off. It's above where it was on Friday. I mean, it actually,
Mhm.
Friday there was the washout. NASDAQ is
Yep.
actually higher than it was on
Yep.
Friday. And we do have this one level just above. I mean, it's not quite at that 61.8%, but I wouldn't be surprised
Mm.
to see NASDAQ actually try to at some point test that level again,
Mhm.
which is 16,425 ish
Mhm. And
area.
if you look at how they're down today, it's exactly what we've seen through the entire pandemic. So again, if this is coming around again, you guys should be looking at the faster movers. So NQ, remember, is the most insulated of all of them, right? Why? Because technology. So everybody's saying we're not locking down again, right? But remember, anything lockdown, anything remote working, any telecommuting, everything was Nasdaq based. It's NQ is in the position now where it's only down 0.25%, down the least amount. You have the ES and YM. Again, YM is going to be more of the supply chain Dow stuff. The ES is kind of right at 6. But look at the Russell. Remember, the Russell is always the first to recover, first to fall. Russell's down 1.08% right now,
Yeah, it's
just over 4 times.
it's
So
getting on the chops. Yeah,
if there's going to be supply chain issues, if there's going to be a resurgence of COVID, there could be absolutely some amazing shorts to take over in the Russell over there. It's cap 2000 in NASDAQ. There's some great opportunity. It may not be something you look at, but again, make yourself a better trader going into the new year. Yeah, it's easy to just trade nothing but the Dow, right? It's just the Dow. It's slow. It's steady. It's this. But again, as we get into different levels of recovery and interest rate rising and all these things, again, the Russell is something to look at. Maybe ES is something to look at. Again, remember, we were coming out of COVID. What was happening? The NQ was getting blasted because everybody was going back to its traditional things again. So
right,
there's a lot there. I mean, look at them. Diversify yourself and trade different asset classes. And don't forget, you can also trade overseas markets at Nadex also. So
right.
if you're not accustomed to looking at the DAX or even China, I mean, I'll tell you right now, we just heard mentioned, where is it over here, about Yellen saying we're going to remove the tariffs. Go look at the Chinese chart. If they remove those tariffs, watch the Chinese market. It's definitely going to have some movement. And again, we can't
Yeah,
trade it in the United States here, but you can trade it through Nadex. So,
yeah.
something to look out for as well.
Yeah. I was going to bring up the chart. They're actually closed at the moment, but it
Yeah.
is catching those hours. But we do have the DAX and the FTSE,
Hmm?
and the decay. So
Yep.
um,
Yeah.
plenty of things to keep.
Trade the overseas markets, because again, removing tariffs, remember, that was a huge deal. What, 2 years ago?
Yeah.
If you remove that huge deal, there's going to be some movement. Again, traders look for movement, guys. It doesn't matter what it is.
Right.
Don't
Whatever
be,
it
don't
is,
be
whatever's
biased.
moving.
Making money is good no matter what you do, right?
Yeah, you got
So,
to find that opportunity. All right.
yep.
With that, any questions for Nadex, please email us customerservice@nadex.com. Any questions for Brian? Support@keeptradingsimple.com. Oh, and as a reminder, there is the full blown session. So in 3 hours, 3 hours, yeah, in 3 hours. Here, let me if I can grab it quickly. Register for the webinar today. Yeah, because we're doing it this week. We won't be doing it next week because we have the boot camp. But there
Mhm.
it is. I'm going to drop the link in real quickly. I had to find it. Uh, be sure to join us again in 3 hours. By then, Powell will have spoken,
Yeah,
and
we'll
we'll
know.
take a quick, and we'll have all those other numbers as well. So join us then. With that, uh, if we don't see you in a few hours, we'll see you tomorrow morning. Good luck in the markets, everyone.
We're gonna see you
Thanks.
tomorrow.